Assalamu alaikum students. This lecture is now we will study. This is a continuation of previous lecture. In our previous lecture in matrix part 1, video lecture, we have studied how to do matrix multiplication, addition and subtraction, and also we have studied how to find determinant, how to find inverse matrix using cofactor inversion method. Right, so these are the things we have studied in our matrix part 1 video lecture. So today this is the second part of matrix. Right, so in this second part we will find out inverse matrix using Gauss-Jordan method. So last class we have studied how to find inverse matrix using cofactor inversion method. So today we will study how to find inverse matrix using Gauss-Jordan method. Right, so to find Gauss-Jordan method, first we need to find an augmented matrix. Right, we need to first find an augmented matrix. Augmented matrix. So right, so what is an augmented matrix? So augmented matrix means we will get the same matrix here. We will get the same matrix first. So 2, 8, 3, 5, and then we will get a divider. Sorry. So in the first step we will get an augmented matrix. To find the inverse matrix, using Gauss-Jordan method, what do we have to do? In the first step we will get an augmented matrix. We will get an augmented matrix by including an identity matrix with the original matrix. This is the matrix that we want to find inverse matrix. This is the so we want to find inverse of this matrix. So we will get that matrix on the left hand side, and there will be a partition or divider, and on the right hand side of the divider we will get an identity matrix. So this is an identity matrix. This matrix is called identity matrix. So that means if you have all the 1 in the right diagonal, that matrix will be called an identity matrix. So if you have all the 1 on the right diagonal, we will call it identity matrix. So this is an identity matrix. So this is a 2 by 2 identity matrix. So here the matrix that we have is 2 by 2 matrix. This is a 2 by 2 matrix. So we need to get 2 by 2 identity matrix on the right hand side of the divider. On the right hand side of the divider we need to get an identity matrix like that. Right, so what do we have to do? By using row operation, we need to get this one. We need to get this one here. We need to get this 0. We need to get this 0 here. We need to get this 1 0. We need to get this 1 0, and we need to get this 1 1. So that means this identity by using row operation, we need to get this identity matrix on the left hand side of the divider. Then whatever we will get on the right hand side of the divider, that is the inverse matrix. So that is the inverse matrix. So how we do it? First of all, let us target this one. So we will convert this one to 0. So how we do it? We can only use row operation. Column operation is not allowed. Right, so for this one, always remember you need to give a side note. So we need to give a side note for this one. So the first side note what we will have here is is first of all, as I said before, our target is this one. We want to convert this one to 0. So if you want to convert this one to 0, what we can do? So remember, I'm showing you I'm showing you a rough. So if you want to convert this one to 0, what we can do? We can multiply it by this one. We can multiply it by this one, and again we can multiply this one by this one, and then we will deduct one from the other. So that means you can multiply 8 with 5, and then we can deduct 5 multiplied by 8. That means what we can do, as I said before, we can convert this one to 0 by using row operation only. So that means we can only interact with this one. So that means we can only, so if you want to convert this one to 0, you can only establish relationship with this one. You can only establish relationship with this one, and by doing that only you can convert it to 0. So what we can do, we can multiply this one with 8, and again we can multiply 8 with 5, 8 with this 5. So we can multiply this one with this one, and again this one with this one, and deduct this one from this one, right? So by doing that, that means in that case we can get 0. In that case we can get 0, right? So obviously, so that means here what we are doing, 8 multiplied by 5 minus 5 multiplied by 8. So here what we are doing this one. So but remember, the formula that we have developed, this formula need to be applied to all the elements of the first row. Since we are changing this one, so that means the formula that you have developed to convert this one to 0, the formula that you have developed to convert this one to 0, the formula that you have developed to convert this one to 0, you need to apply this formula. You need to apply this formula to all the elements of the first row, right? So what is the formula, right? So this is the previous row 1. This is the row 1. This is the row 1. This is the row 1, and this is a new row 1. This is a new row 1. So what we will write, R R1, that means row prime 1. So this is new row 1. This is new row 1, right? This is new row 1, right? So this one is the previous row 1, and this is the new row 1. This is the new row 1. So how we get the new row 1? So the new row 1 we are getting by what? So that means we are multiplying so row 1 we have multiplied row 1 with 5 minus we have multiplied row 2 with 8. We have multiplied row 2 with 8. So I'm repeating again. So what we have done is, this is the new row 1. This is the new row 1. That's why we have written row prime 1. That's why we have written row prime 1. This is the new row 1. That means that this is the row 1 after we have used the row operation. That means this is the changed row 1, right? Changed version of row 1. This is the changed version of row 1, right? So what formula we are using? We have multiplied these one. That means this is in the row 1. This is in the row 1. So we have multiplied elements of row 1 with this 5. With this 5. So that means we have multiplied elements of row 1. So elements of row 1. So this one has been multiplied by 5. This one has been multiplied by 5. And then again, this is in the row 2. This is in the row 2. This one with whatever element we have in the row 2, we have multiplied this one with 8. We have multiplied this one with 8. So and then we have deducted one from the other, so there is a minus. So this is the formula. This is the formula to convert the row 1. So similarly we need to use, this is the row 1, this is the row 1, this is the element of row 1. So with row 1 we will multiply 5, with row 1 we will multiply 5. So with row 1 we will multiply 5, then minus with row 2. So in the row 2 we have 3, in the row 2 we have 3, so in the row 2 we have 3, and we will multiply it by 8. We will multiply it by 8. So similarly these one, with these one we will multiply it by 5 minus 0 multiplied by 8. 0 multiplied by 8, because in the second row we have 0, right? So similarly here, so this is in the row 1, this is in the row 1, with the row 1 we will multiply 5 minus, so this is in the second row, this is in the second row, with the element of the second row, with the element of the second row we will multiply 8. So 1 multiplied by 8. So that means these formula need to be applied to all the elements of the first row, right? So what we will get now here? Remember, side note is very important for Gauss-Jordan method. If you do not include side note in the exam, you won't get any mark, right? So let us simplify these one. What we have, 5 multiplied by 2, 10, minus 3 multiplied by 8, 24. So what we will get? So minus 14. So here again 5 multiplied by 8, 40, minus 5 multiplied by 40. So this is 0. So this one we have already converted it to 0. So this is with this is the 0 that we got. So here what we get? So 0 multiplied by 8 is 0. So that means 5 multiplied by 1 is 5. So 0 multiplied by 5 is 0. Minus 8 multiplied by 1 is 8. Minus 8. So here we will get minus 8. So now, as you can see, this one has been converted to 0. This one has been converted to 0. Right. So that means this 0, we brought this 0 already here. This one has been converted to 0. Now this 0, we need to bring this 0 here. So that means this one need to be converted to 0. So that means now our target is this one. This one we need to convert it to 0. Remember, if you convert all the zeros first, then the problem will be very easier. But in theory, you can target to anyone. That means if you want, you can convert, you can bring this one to the, you can convert these one to 1 in the first step as well. But if you convert all the elements, if you convert these one to 0, if you bring the zeros first, if you target zeros first, then the problem will be much easier. So now our target is we need to convert these one. We need to bring this 0 to here. That means we need to convert this one to 0. So we need to convert this one to 0. Right. Again, row operation. So we need to convert this one to 0 by using row operation only. Right. So what we can do, so if you want to convert, let me show you some rough. Right. So if you want to convert excuse me, if you want to convert this one to 0, what we can do, we can multiply this one with this one, again this one with this one, then it will be converted to 0. So that means what we can do, we can multiply 3, we can multiply this 3 with minus 14. So we can multiply 3 with minus 14, then we can add, not necessarily we need to deduct not necessarily we need to, excuse me, not necessarily that we need to deduct always. So what we can do, we can multiply, multiply this minus 14, we can multiply this minus 14 with this 3, that means we can multiply this minus 14 with this 3, and then what we can do, we can multiply 3 with 14, so that means in that case 3 multiplied by 14 minus 3 multiplied by 14, that means we will get 0, that means we will get 0. So what should be the formula? So this way you can do some rough in the exam, this way you can do some rough to find out the formula to convert element to 0, right? So what should be the formula then? What should be the formula? So that means what we are doing, we are multiplying these 1 by 3, and then we are 3 multiplied by 14. So this way, sorry, not this one, this one. So what we are doing here is minus 14 multiplied by 3. So minus 14 multiplied by 3, then what we are doing, plus 3 multiplied by 14, So this way we are converting these 1 to 0, our target is this one, we need to convert these 1 to 0, and we have already formulated the method to convert these 1 to 0. What is the formulation? What is the formula? Minus 14 multiplied by 3 plus 3 multiplied by 14. So let us write the formula in the side note. So here our target is row 2 now. Here this was the previous row 2. This is the previous version of row 2. Now after so we want to convert this 1 to 0, so that means we need to use some formula, we need to use some row operation to convert this 1 to 0. So obviously not only this one will change, but all the elements of the second row will change. So row 2 will fully change. So this is the new row 2. So that's why we will call it row prime 2. Right? What is the formula? Formula is whatever you have in the row 1, we will multiply it by, so whatever you have in the row 1, we have minus 14. So in the row 1 we have minus 14. So with row 1 we are multiplying 3. So element of row 1 is multiplied by 3. So that means I am repeating again. So minus 14, this is in the row 1. Minus 14 is in the row 1. So whatever you have in the row 1, we will multiply that one by 3. And then plus, this is in the second row. This was in the second row. Right? So whatever you have in the, this is in the second row. So this 3 is in the second row. So whatever you have in the second row, we will multiply it by 14. So this is the formula. So that means this formula need to be applied to row 2, because row 2 need to be changed. Right? So this formula need to be applied to row 2. Right? So first of all, row 1 multiplied by 3. So in the row 1 we have 0. So 0 multiplied by 3 plus, so whatever you have in the row 2, we will multiply it by 14. So this is in the row 2 multiplied by 14. So 5, we have 5 in the row 2, so we will multiply it by 14. So similarly, whatever you have in the row 1, so in the row 1 we have 5. So 5 multiplied by 3 plus, so whatever you have in the row 1, we will multiply it by 3. So in the row 1 we have 5. So first we will multiply these one by 3 plus whatever you have in the row 2. In the row 2 we have 0. We will multiply it by 14. We will multiply it by 14. You may decide it not to write these one, because for 0 multiplied by 14 is 0. So you can ignore these one. So now again, so whatever you have in the row 1, we will multiply it by 3. So whatever you have in the row 1, we will multiply it by 3. So we will multiply these one by 3. We will multiply these one by 3. Plus whatever you have in the row 2, that is 1, we will multiply it by 14. We will multiply it by 14. So now let us simplify. So obviously this one is 0. Right? So this one again, this one is also 0. 0 multiplied by something is 0. So 5 multiplied by 14 is 70. So here again 0 multiplied by something is 0. So 3 multiplied by 5 is 15. So here what we get, 3 multiplied by 8. So 3 multiplied by 8 is equal to minus 24 plus 14. That is minus 10. Right. So this way we can see that we have already converted this one to 0. We have already got here 0. So that means this 0, and this 0, we have already successfully brought these, converted these one to 0. We got here, we got a 0 here, and again we got a 0 here. Now what is our second task? Now we need to bring these 1 in the right diagonal. So that means we need to convert these 1 to 1. We need to bring 1 here. So right. So that means we need to get 1 here. And also 1 here. Right. So how we do that? So we need to convert these 1 to 1. So whatever is there, if you divide it by that, so we need to convert these 1 to 1. So if you divide that one by that one, we will get 1. So that means if we want to convert these 1 to 1. So if you want to convert these 1 to 1, you can divide it by that one. So in that case you will get 1. Right. But remember, as I said before, whatever formula, whatever you are doing with that element, that formula need to be applied to all the elements in that row. So that means, this is the original row 1. So now you are converting, you are changing this one. Right. So this is the original row 1 and this is the new row 1. So that means new row 1. So new row 1 will be changed by what? The formula is, we are dividing whatever we have in the row 1. So whatever we have in the row 1, we are dividing it by minus 14. So that means we are dividing these one by minus 14. So all the elements of that row need to be divided by minus 14. Similarly, if you want to convert these one to 1, we need to divide it by that one. So we need to divide it by that one, by, that means we need to divide it by 70. So we need to divide it by, so if you want to convert these 1 to 1, we need to divide it by 70. So as I said before, we need to divide all the elements of the second row by 70. So row prime 2, that means row 2 is changing now. So we are dividing elements of row 2, we are dividing elements of row 2 by 70. So row 2 is changing, so we will get a new row 2 here, we will get a new row 2 here. So that means whatever element we have in the row 2, we will divide it by 70, we will divide it by 70, right? So that means all the elements of the second row need to be divided by 70. All the elements of the second row need to be divided by 70. So here again, these one need to be divided by 70 also, right? So these one here, we are dividing the first element, we are dividing all the elements of the first row by 14, minus 14. We are dividing all the elements of the first row by minus 14. So these one also need to be divided by minus 14. So if you divide something by, if you divide 0 by something, you will get 0, same 0. So similarly here also, this 5, since you are dividing all the elements of the first row by minus 14, so these one also need to be divided by minus 14. So similarly, these one also need to be divided by minus 14. Minus 14. So as you can see, all the elements of the first row, all the elements of the first row has been divided by minus 14, right? So again, these one also need to be divided by 70. So you can just ignore this one also, because if you divide something by if you divide 0 by something, you will get same 0, right? So that means all the elements of the second row is divided by 70. So now what we will get? So obviously this one, minus 14 divided by minus 14, we will get 1. This one we will get 0. This one, so here what we will get? 5 divided by minus 14. So 5 divided by minus 14, you can use your calculator to do the division. So 5 divided by minus 14 is equal to minus 0.3571. So here what we will get, minus and minus will cancel each other out. So what we will get, 8 divided by 14. 8 divided by 14, we will get 0.5714. 5714. So this one, 0 divided by something is 0. 70 divided by 70, we will get 1. So here what we will get, 15 divided by 70. 15 divided by 70, we will get 15 divided by 70, we will get 0.2142. 2142. 0.2142. Remember, you need to write up to 4 decimal point. So here 0 and 0 will cancel each other out. So that means we will have minus 1 by 7. So minus 1 divided by 7, what we will get, minus 0.1428. 0.1428. So you can, if you can notice, we have started with an augmented matrix. We have started with an augmented matrix where the identity matrix, where an identity matrix has added. So we have added an identity matrix with the original matrix. So we have added an identity matrix and this identity matrix was on the right hand side of the divider. These identity matrix was on the right hand side of the divider. Now by doing row operation, we have brought these one to the left hand side of the divider. So that you can see these identity matrix, we have already brought it to the left hand side of the divider. So as I said before, after you bring the identity matrix on the left hand side of the divider, whatever you will get on the right hand side, that's the inverse matrix. So the inverse matrix is equal to So this is the inverse matrix. So whatever you will get on the right hand side of the divider, that is the inverse matrix, right? So this is the answer. So if you want to check if your answer is correct, if you want to check the answer, you can use your calculator to check the answer. So what was the original matrix? This was the original matrix. So to check the answer, what you can do, you can press mode in your calculator. And then choose matrix option. And then you will get to input data for 3 matrix. So here we have only one matrix, so we will choose matrix A. So here the dimension of the matrix is 2 by 2, so we will choose 5, and then we will input the data. So first element is 2, we will press 2 and then equal. Second element is 8, we will press 8 and then equal. Third element is 3, we will press 3 and equal. 5 and equal. Like that way we will input the data, and then we will come back to normal mode. That means we will press AC button to come back to normal mode. Then we will press shift and 4, and since we have input the data, in the matrix A, so we will choose matrix A. And then there is an inverse button in your calculator, which is x power minus 1. We will press that button and then equal. So now we will get the inverse of that matrix. Let us check the answer. Yes, first element is correct, second element is also correct, third element is also correct, fourth element is also correct. So perfectly correct. The answer is correct. So this way you can check the answer also. So this is the inverse matrix. Now let us do another problem. So let us do another problem. So let me change the digits here. So for example, we have a 0 here, we have a 6 here, we have 2 here, we have 5 here. So now we want to find inverse of this matrix. So as usual, we need to first start with an augmented matrix. So that means we need to first start with an augmented matrix. So this matrix, so this one will be in the left hand side of the divider, and on the right hand side of the divider we will get identity matrix. So since this one is the 2 by 2 matrix, so we need to get an identity matrix with 2 by 2 size, right? So similarly, like before, we will do row operation. We will first convert these one to 0 and these one to 0. So there is a catch here. What is the catch? So there is a catch here. So if you want to convert these one to 0, if you want to convert these one to 0, you need to establish row operation with these one. So I'm saying again, if you want to convert these one to 0, you have to establish row operation with these one. You have to establish relationship with these one. But if you use row operation with this one, since this one is 0, everything on the first row will become 0. Everything on the first row will become 0. So we better ignore, we better do not convert these one to 0 in the first step. We better ignore these one in the first step, right? So I'm repeating again, if you want to convert these one to 0, that means if you want to bring this 0 to here, so if you want to convert these one to 0, you need to establish row operation with these one. But we have a 0 here. Excuse me. So if you establish row operation with this one, you will see that all the elements in the first row will become 0. So in that case, we will not reach to our goal. So what we can do, we just ignore these one. So in the first step, we will not convert these one to 0. In the first step, we will not convert these one to 0. So we will convert these one to 0 first. So since you can easily establish relationship with these one, so that's why we will first target these one. So we will bring this 0 to here. So we will convert this one to 0. Right. So how we can do it? What we can do, we can multiply these one by 6 minus, and then we can 6 multiplied by 2. So that means in this way we can convert these one to 0. So that means what we are doing, we are multiplying these one, with these one, and then minus, and again we are multiplying these one with these one. So like that. So this way we can convert, we can get a 0 here. This way we can get a 0 here. So what will be the formula? The formula will be what? So in the side note, you need to write the formula. The formula is what? So what we are doing is, we are multiplying. This is the so excuse me, this 2 is in the row 2. So here this is the row 2, this is the row 2. So with row 2, this 2 is in the row 2, this 2 is in the row 2. With row 2 we are multiplying 6. So with row 2 we are multiplying 6. We have multiplied 6, and then we have a minus, and then we have a minus, and then this 6 is in the first row. This 6 is in the first row. This 6 is in the first row. This is the element of the first row. This 6 is the element of the first row. So this is the element of the first row, and with the element of first row we are multiplying 2. We are multiplying 2. So with the first row we are multiplying 2. Right. So this is the formula. This is the formula. I'm repeating again. Whatever we have in the second row, we are multiplying with the element of the second row by 6. So that means we are multiplying the element of the second row by 6. So that means this is the element of the second row. We are multiplying it by 6. We are multiplying it by 6. So multiplying it by 6. Row 2 multiplied by 6 minus, and then this 6 is in the first row. This 6 is in the first row. So we are multiplying the element of the first row by 2. We are multiplying element of the first row by 2. So this is the formula. So this formula need to be applied to all the elements of the first row. So these one need to be multiplied by 6 minus, and whatever we have in the first row, we have 5. In the first row we have 5. So 5 multiplied by element of the first row multiplied by 2, so multiplied by 2. Similarly 0 multiplied by 6 minus element of the first row. Element of the first row is what? Row 1. So here in the first row we have 1. So 1 multiplied by 2. So 1 multiplied by 2. So this one in the row 1 we have 1 multiplied by 2. Similarly here multiplied by 6 minus. So whatever you have in the first row we will multiply it by 2. So 0 multiplied by 2. Right. So let us simplify now. Let us simplify. So after you simplify, obviously this is 0. This one is also something multiplied by 0 is 0. So here what we get? 5 multiplied by 2, 10. So minus 10. This one is 0. So here what we get? Minus 2. So this one is 0 again. So 6 multiplied by 1 is 6. So right. So this one, what we get? This one. Now we will target. So we will bring this 0. Now we will bring this 0. So we will bring this 0 here. So that means we will convert these 1 to 0. Now we will convert these 1 to 0. Right. So we will convert these 1 to 0. So how we can do it? So how we can convert these 1 to 0? So now we will convert these 1 to 0. So how we can do it? So pay attention how we do it. 5 multiplied by 2 plus minus 10. So we can convert these 1 to 0 by this. So that means we can multiply these 1 by 2. If you multiply these 1 by 2, you will get 10. And then we can add these 1. Add these 1 means this one is already minus 10. So plus these elements. So this is already minus 10. So 5 multiplied by 2, 10. Minus 10, we will get 0. We will get 0. So this way we can convert these 1 to 0. So similarly, we need to apply these. So now we need to develop the formula. Now we need to develop the formula so that we can apply this formula to all the elements of that first row. So now our target is first row. So we will get a new first row. So row prime 1. So what we are doing here? So this is the row 1. So 5 is in the row 1. So this 5 is in the row 1. So row 1 multiplied by, so with row 1 we are multiplying it by 2. So we are multiplying it by 2. And then we have a plus. And then we have a plus. And then we are adding. So and then we are adding whatever we have in the second row. So then we are adding whatever we have in the second row. So we are just adding whatever we have in the second row. So whatever we have in the second row. So this is the formula. This is the formula. So this formula need to be applied to all the elements of the first row. This formula need to be applied to all the elements of the first row. So this is the first row. So we will multiply it by 2 plus element of the second row. So element of the second row. So element of the second row is 0. You can just ignore it. And then this is the element of the first row. This is the element of the first row. So this is the element of the first row. 1 is the element in the first row. So 1 is the element in the first row. We will multiply it by 2. We will multiply it by 2. So 1 multiplied by 2 plus whatever we have in the second row. Plus whatever we have in the second row. So what we have in the second row? Second row we have this one. Right. Now here this is the element of the first row. So element of the first row need to be multiplied by 2 plus whatever we have in the second row, we will add it. So in the second row we have 6, in the second row we have 6, so we have 6. So this way we can convert the first row. Now what we will get? Let us simplify. So 6 multiplied by 2, so 0 you don't need to write. 6 multiplied by 2, that means 12. So here 5 multiplied by 2, 10, minus 10, we get 0. So 2 multiplied 2 minus 2, we get 0 also here. And here what we get? 0 multiplied by something is 0. So only 6. So that's what we will get. That's what we get. So that means, as we can see, the left diagonal elements are 0 already. So we got the left diagonal elements 0. So now we need to get 1 here, 1 in the right diagonal element. So that means we need to convert these 1 to 1. We need to convert these 1 also to 1. Right, let us convert then. So let us convert right diagonal elements to 1. So if you want to convert these 1 to 1, we will divide it by that one. That means we will divide it by 12. So we will divide it by 12. Then we will get 1. So similarly, you need to divide these one also by 12. So that means you need to divide these one also by 12. So these one also by 12. You can just ignore these one, because if you divide it by 12, you will get same to 0. So these one also need to be divided by 12. So what is the formula? Let us write the formula. So the formula is what? Row 1 divided by 12. So that means whatever we have in the row 1, we are dividing it by 12. Right. Now we need to get these one here also 1. So we need to get a 1 here also. So similarly, we will divide it by minus 10. So minus 10. If you divide it by that one, that means if you divide it by minus 10, you will get 0. So similarly, these one also need to be divided by minus 10. So that means all the elements of the second row will be divided by minus 10. These one also need to be divided by minus 10. These one also need to be divided by minus 10. So what we will get? So row 2 divided by minus 10. That means whatever we have in the row 2, we will divide it by minus 10. We will divide it by minus 10. So what we will get? Let us simplify. So obviously these one we will get 1. So 0 divided by something, we will get 0. Here also 0 divided by something, 0. 6 divided by 12, we will get 0.5. Here 0 divided by something, 0. Minus 10 divided by minus 10, we will get 1. So minus and minus will cancel each other out. Minus and minus will cancel each other out. So here we will get 0.2. So here we will get what? Minus 0.6. 0.6. So right, so as you can see, we got the identity matrix on the left hand side of the divider. We got the identity matrix on the left hand side of the divider. So inverse matrix will be equal to what? Whatever we have on the right hand side of the divider. So this is the inverse matrix. This is the inverse matrix. So you can check the answer as usual with the using the calculator. So you can check the answer as usual using the calculator. So that was that. So now we will study. Okay, for one more thing. So we have studied how to find inverse of a matrix using Gauss-Jordan method. So we found inverse of a matrix, inverse of a 2 by 2 matrix. We found inverse of a 2 by 2 matrix. So these way, similarly you can find inverse of a 3 by 3 matrix as well. So now we will move to Cramer's rule. So here the question is asking, solve following set of equations using Cramer's rule. Solve following set of equations using Cramer's rule. Right. So here we have 3 equations here. So we need to solve these 3 equations and find the value of the variables. So as you can see, the A is one variable, B is another variable, and C is the other variable. Right. So we have 3 variables there. We have 3 variables in this set of equations. So we need to solve this set of equation to find out the value of A, B, and C. So we will solve this set of equation using Cramer's rule. Right. So in real life, you may need to solve a very big set of equations with multiple different variables. So you may have to solve 10 different equations with 10 different variables. So if you have only 3 variable, you can use calculator and solve this equation directly. But if you have 10 different variables in 10 different equations, then you will not be able to use calculator. Then you will have to use matrix rule. That means you can use Cramer's rule to find out the values of the variables. So if you have a very big set of data, multiple 10 or multiple different variables, in that case you can use Cramer's rule to solve and find out the values of the variables. So if you want to solve it using Cramer's rule, in the step 1 you need to find determinant of the following matrix. So you need to find determinant that is D of the following matrix. What is that matrix? So let me show you. Right. So here the first row, in the first row let us write the values, let us write the variables. So here the first variable is A, the second variable is B, third variable is C. Right. And here we will write the coefficients of A, B, C serially. So let us find out the coefficient of A in the first equation. So we can see the coefficient of A in the first equation is 7. So we will write 7 here. The coefficient of B in the first equation is -2. So we will write -2 here. The coefficient of C is equal to 4. Coefficient of C is equal to 4 here. right? So 7 minus 2 plus 4, right? So now we will move to second equation. In the second equation, coefficient of A, in the second equation, coefficient of A is minus 1. Here we do not have any coefficient, that means we have 1 in the as the coefficient. So including the sign, the coefficient of A is minus 1. Including the sign, the coefficient of A is minus 1. Right? We do not have any B in this equation. In the second equation, we do not have any B. So the coefficient of B is equal to 0. Coefficient of C in the second equation, coefficient of C is equal to 5. Now let us move to third equation. Coefficient of A is equal to minus 5. Coefficient of A is equal to minus 5. Minus 5. Coefficient of B is equal to 2. Coefficient of B is equal to 2. Coefficient of C is equal to only 1. So here only 1 is there. So coefficient of C is equal to 1. Right. So these are the coefficient. So this is the matrix. So that means we need to find out. So just a minute please. So we need to find out the determinant of this matrix. So here, as you can see, this is a 3 by 3 matrix. So the matrix that we have here is actually, the matrix that we have here is the matrix that we have here is 7 minus 2 4 minus 1 minus 2 sorry 7 minus 2 4 7 minus 2 4 minus 1 0 5 minus 5 2 1. So we need to find out the determinant of this matrix. So 7 minus 2 4 minus 1 0 5 minus 5 2 1. So we need to find determinant of this matrix. So to find determinant of a matrix, in my previous video lecture I have shown you how to find determinant of a matrix. So first of all we need to take this 7. So we need to take 7 and then, so when you take this 7, first we will take this 7. So when you take this 7, so that means you need to take the first element of the first row and first column. So we will ignore the first row and the first column. So we will ignore the first row and the first column. So we will ignore the first row and the first column. So we will be left with these one 0 5 2 1. So 0 5 2 1 0 5 2 1. Right. Now according to the formula, so after that we will have a minus. Now we will take these one. Now we will take the second element of the first row. Right. So we will take these one. So we will put it inside a bracket. So because there is a minus outside. Right. So you can directly write minus a plus also. No problem with that. Right. So now we are taking these one. Now we have taken these one. So this is in the first row. We will ignore the first row. This is in the second column. We will ignore the second column. So we will be left with what? Minus 1 5 minus 5 1. So we will be left with minus 1 5 minus 5 1. So we will be left with minus 1 5 minus 1 5 minus 5 1 minus 5 1, and then we will have a plus. Now we will take these one. So now we will take these one. So now we will take these one. So this is in the first row. We will ignore the first row. this is in the third column, we will ignore the third column. So we will be left with minus 1 0. So we will be left with minus 1 0 and minus 5 2 and minus 5 2. So minus 1 0 minus 5 2. So right. So here we will, what we will have is, so we will first multiply the right diagonal elements. We will first multiply the right diagonal elements. That means 0 multiplied by 1, that is 0. And then we will have a minus in the, this is the minus in the formula, from the formula. So before you multiply the left diagonal element, so before you multiply the left diagonal element, you have to put a minus. So minus 5 multiplied by 2, that is 10. And then what we have here, minus a plus 2. So we will have a plus 2. And then first of all we will multiply the right diagonal elements. So that means these one multiplied by these one. So these one multiplied by these one, we will get minus 1. And this is the minus from the formula. This is the minus from the formula. Now we will multiply these one and these one. So these one and these one, now we will multiply the left diagonal elements. These one multiplied by these one. So what we will get? Minus 25. Minus 25. So here again there is a minus. So minus a, we will have a plus 25. And then plus 4. Now we will multiply these one with these one. So we will get minus 2. And this is the minus from the formula. Again, so now we will multiply these one with these one. So if you multiply something with 0, you get 0. 0. Right. You may just ignore these one also. Sorry. You may just ignore these one also. Right. So what if you calculate what we will get minus 70. So because 0 need to write, so minus 70. Here what we will get, 25 minus 1, that is 24. 24 multiplied by 2, that is 48. Plus 48 and minus 8. So what we will get, 48 minus 8, that is 40. So 40 minus 70, that is minus 30. So minus 30. So that is the value of D. So that is the value of D. So that's the value of D. Now we will move to step 2. So in the step 2, we will find out determinant for the value for the variable A. Now we need to find out the determinant for the variable A. So determinant for the variable A will be what? So determinant for the variable A, this is the determinant. This is the we have calculated determinant of this matrix. So here what we will do is, so that means the column A we want to find, now we want to find out determinant for A, determinant for A. So the coefficient of A, that means the first column, coefficients of A, that means the first column need to be replaced by whatever we have on the right hand side of the equation, whatever we have on the right hand side of the equation. So that means, I am repeating again, so we have already calculated determinant for this one, that means the determinant for the coefficient. We have already calculated determinant for the coefficients, that means D. So now we want to find out dA, that means determinant for the variable of A. So determinant for the variable A. So that means the coefficient column for A, that means the coefficient column of A, will be replaced by 65, 40, 80. 65, 40, 80. So here we will have 65, here we will have 40, here we will have 80. So 65, 40, 80. So 65, 40, 80 will replace the coefficient column of A. Will replace the coefficient column of A. So now let us calculate these determinants. 65. Let me do it directly. So here we will be left with this one, 0 multiplied by 1, that is 0, minus 5 multiplied by 2, that is 10, minus 10. And then there is a minus in the formula. There is a minus in the formula. Now we will take this one. So there is another minus here. So minus a, this one will be plus. Plus 2. And now we will be left with what? We will ignore this one. We will ignore this one. We will be left with 45, 81. So that means 40 multiplied by 1. That is 40. Minus 5 multiplied by 80. That is 400. Plus 4. Now we will take this one, 4. So we will be left with 40, 0, 82. So 40 multiplied by 2, that is 80. And then minus 0 multiplied by 80. So 0 multiplied by 80 is 0. So we don't need to write that. So let me revise. 0 minus 10, 10. So minus 10. So when you take this one, we will have 40 minus 400. Correct. So when you take this one, 40 multiplied by 2, 80 minus 0. So minus 0 you don't need to write. Right. So what we will get, if you do the calculation, we will get minus 650. And then what we will get here, minus 400 plus 40, that means minus 360. So minus 360 multiplied by 2, that is minus 720. Minus 720. Right. Plus 320. Plus 320. So plus 320. So what we will get? 320 minus 720 minus 650. So we will get minus 1050. So that is dA. That is dA. Now we will find out in the step, in the second step, in the third step, we will find. Now we will find out dB. So that means determinant for the variable B. Now we will find out determinant for the variable B. So again, this was the original coefficient matrix. This was the original coefficient matrix. The second column is for coefficient of B. Second column is for coefficient of B. So second column need to be replaced by the values of in the right hand side of the equation, 65, 40, 80. So now second column will be replaced by the values of the right hand side of the equation. So 65, 40. So that means coefficient of B, coefficient column for B will be replaced by this. That means second column will be replaced by this. So let us find out the determinant of this one. So 7 multiplied by, so we will ignore this one, we will ignore this one, we will be left with 45, 81. So 40 multiplied by 1, that is 40 minus 400. So and then minus 65. So when you take this one, we will ignore this one, we will ignore this one. So we will be left with what? Minus 1, 5, minus 5, 1. So minus 1 multiplied by 1, so minus 1. And then minus 5 multiplied by minus 5. So minus a plus 5. 5 multiplied by 5, that is 25. And then plus 4. So This one will ignore, this one we will ignore, so we will be left with minus 140 minus 5 80. So that means minus 1 multiplied by 80, that is minus 80 minus 40 multiplied by minus 5. So minus a plus 40 multiplied by 5, that is 200. Right, let me revise. 40 multiplied by 400, right? So minus 1 minus a plus 25, minus 1 minus a plus 25, correct? Minus 80 minus a plus 200, right? So let me calculate this one. So if you calculate this one, what we will get? So minus 360 multiplied by 7 minus 360 multiplied by 7, and then minus 65 multiplied by 24, right? Minus 65 multiplied by 24, then what we will get? 104 multiplied by plus 4 multiplied by 4 multiplied by 120. So what we will get? Minus 3600. So we will get minus 306, minus 3600. So now we will calculate, similarly we will calculate determinants for the coefficient. Now we will calculate determinant for the coefficient C. Now we will this is the original coefficient matrix. This is the original coefficient matrix. So this is the original coefficient matrix. Now the column C need to be replaced. This is the column C. Column C need to be replaced by the values of the right hand side of the equation. So these will be replaced by 65. This one 40. So, and this one 80. So now let us calculate 7 multiplied by, here 0 multiplied by 80, 0 minus 40 multiplied by 2, that is 80. Right. This is the minus from the formula. Now we will take this one. Now this is the minus from the formula, and now we will take this one. So here there is a minus, so minus a plus. So we will have a plus 2 bracket. So now we are taking this one. Now we are taking this one. So we will ignore this one. We will ignore this column. So we will be left with minus 140 minus 580. So minus 1 multiplied by 80, that is minus 80. Minus 80. Minus a plus 40 multiplied by 5, that is 200, plus 65. Now we are taking this one, so we will ignore this row, we will ignore this column. So we will be left with minus 1 multiplied by 2, that is minus 2. Minus 2 minus, so here there is a 0. So 0, 0 you don't need to write. Right. So what we will get here? Minus 80 multiplied by 7 plus 2 multiplied by 120 plus 65 multiplied by minus 2, we will get minus 450. We will get minus 450. So now that means we have got the determinant for the coefficient matrix, we have got the determinant for the coefficient A, we have got the determinant for coefficient B, we have got the determinant for coefficient C, and then we will find out the values of A, B and C. So A is equal to dA divided by D. So that means determinant for coefficient A divided by D. So the value of A will be determinant for coefficient A divided by D. So determinant for coefficient A is equal to minus 1050. So that is the dA. That is the value of dA, and this is the value of D. This is the value of D. This is the value of D. So if you calculate, minus and minus will cancel each other out. So we will have 1050 divided by 30. That is 35. So the value of A is 35. Now let us find out the value of B is equal to, so here we will have B. So dB divided by D is equal to, so dB is equal to minus 3600. dB is equal to minus 3600. So minus 3600 divided by 30. So minus minus will cancel each other out. So we will have 120. Right. So now we will calculate C. The value of C is equal to, the value of C will be equal to dC divided by D. So here DC will is what? DC is minus 450. DC is minus 450 divided by 30 is equal to, minus and minus will cancel each other out. So we will have 15. So right. So that's the value of A, B and C. That's the value of A, B and C. So that's the answer. That's the answer. Now we can check whether the values are correct or not. Now we can check whether the values are correct or not. How we can check it? We can put the values here. We can put the value A here. We can put the values of A, B and C here to check if we get 65 or not. So here the value of A is what? The value of A is 35. Minus 2B. B is equal to 120 plus 4C. C is equal to 15. So let us check what we get. 7 multiplied by 35 minus 2 multiplied by 120 plus 4 multiplied by 15. 65. So exactly we got exactly 65. We got exactly 65. So that means answer is perfectly correct. So that means the answer is perfectly correct. That means the value of A, B and C is perfectly correct. So this way you can check also. This way you can, after you find the values of the variable, you can check to see whether the values are correct or not. Whether the values are correct or not. So next class, in the next session, in the matrix part 3, we will study some application of matrix. So that's the end of today's video lecture.